Okay, let's unpack this. We've received a really fascinating set of narrative excerpts today.
It reads almost like the beginning of a novel, doesn't it?
It really does. More like a detailed psychological blueprint for maybe starting over. Our listeners looking for those quick insights, those aha moments, and I think this source material really delivers.
Oh, definitely. Deep insights into second chances, challenging those rigid timelines society sets up.
And finding renewal maybe when you least expect it later in life.
Yeah, and what's immediately striking, I think, is the structure of it, how it uses this developing relationship.
Between two very different people.
Very different. Elena, she's 55, widowed, works in a bookstore, and Liam, he's 28, an instructor, just got out of an engagement.
Right, and the narrative uses their connection to explore these huge themes of identity and expectation.
Exactly. They're sort of on parallel tracks, decades apart, but both feeling stuck.
That dynamic is key here, isn't it? They're both fundamentally stalled. So our mission today, I think, is to get right to the heart of it.
The psychological dynamics, the
Yeah.
relational ones.
Yeah. How do these two people actually give themselves permission to shed all those expectations? The ones placed on them.
And maybe the ones they placed on themselves, too.
Good point. And what are those specific moments, those turning points that let them choose this really unconventional path, even with everyone watching?
To really get the breakthrough, we have to start where they started, that baseline of uh, personal stagnation.
Okay.
Because both of them arrive at the same place, this Astoria Lake Recreation Center, carrying a lot of baggage, regret, fear.
So let's start with Elena Martinez, her reality. The sources paint this picture not of outright misery, but this deep, quiet resignation.
Like she accepted a certain narrative.
Exactly. She believed life's big adventures ended somewhere around 45. That's a direct quote. So by 55, the script felt written.
Predictable life.
Yep.
Bookstore job, garden.
Right, and those lake visits. Over and over. The text calls the lake her therapist for 8 years, ever since her husband Daniel died. She'd basically put herself on mute.
Yeah. And then you have the contrast with Liam O'Connor, which makes it so sharp.
Okay, Liam. He's 28.
And he isn't mourning a life that's over. He's terrified of a life that feels already decided for him.
Ah, okay. Running from something.
Totally. Running from this suffocating timeline, marriage by 30, kids by 32.
Right.
He actually called it committing to the wrong life.
Wow. So if Elena felt lost because she accepted the end of adventure, Liam felt lost because he saw this unwanted future speeding towards him.
Exactly. Acceptance versus, maybe, coercion. Impending coercion.
That shared sense of being trapped, though, whatever the reason, that's the common ground.
It is.
Elena reflects on it, doesn't she? That following the rules, marriage, career, motherhood didn't actually guarantee fulfillment. She concludes that expectations can be a prison.
It doesn't matter if they're internal or external expectations, right?
Yeah.
If they don't feel authentic, they just box you in.
It's that quiet pressure of the shoulds.
And the narrative suggests the only way out of that prison often needs some kind of external push, a
Yeah.
catalyst.
Something that shakes up the internal story.
Precisely. Which brings us to that first critical moment, the perfect stroke.
Okay, yeah, this is the spark. Liam's teaching kind of checked out, dealing with surly 15-year-olds.
Not exactly engaged himself.
No. And then he sees Elena kayaking. And it's not her looks that grab him initially, it's her technique.
Her competence?
Yes. The text says she moved with a grace that made his breath catch. There was this purposefulness about her that just cut through the noise.
And what's so interesting is that the attraction starts there, with competence, not, novelty or youth.
She wasn't performing.
No, she was just there, radiating this quiet confidence in her own element. And the draw was mutual.
Right. Elena was struck by his genuine interest, something she wasn't used to anymore. She contrasted it with the usual polite indifference.
And Liam, he saw her as beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with youth. That's a key observation.
But let's pause on something Liam says right at the start. He drops the line, age is just a number.
Ah, the classic line.
Yeah. Is that just convenient, something you say when you're unexpectedly attracted to someone older? Or is it genuine?
That's fair to question. But I think the source material backs up its sincerity, mainly through Elena's reaction.
Oh, so?
She doesn't dismiss it. She internalizes it almost immediately. Usually if someone challenges a core belief like that, you resist.
Sure.
But the text says he delivered it with casual conviction. And that forces Elena to look inward, to ask that really vital question. When had she begun to fade into the background of her own life?
So it wasn't just a throwaway line, it acted like a mirror.
Exactly. Reflecting her own self-imposed limits back at her.
Okay. So the age gap, initially at least, it works as a catalyst for self-reflection, not a barrier.
Right. And they find common ground quickly, don't they? In that shared need for healing.
Yeah, Elena kayaking as therapy after her husband died, Liam needing space after his engagement blew up.
Two emotionally wounded people finding refuge. First in the water, then in each other.
And as that connection starts to build, the sources describe this really intense, almost clandestine phase.
Yes. It's all anticipation and these carefully managed secret moments.
Elena timing her arrival just right, Liam watching her usual route.
Those accidental touches that weren't really accidental after a while.
That secrecy itself becomes part of the allure, doesn't it? It fuels the connection because it creates this necessary sanctuary, away from judgment.
Absolutely. And the physical space reflects that the deserted rec center after hours. The changing room, the equipment storage room.
The kind of bubble.
A bubble with a purpose. For Elena, that secrecy let her explore desire again, without pressure. She discovers that desire didn't die with youth, it evolved, deepened, became richer.
And for Liam?
For Liam, it felt authentic because there was no performance needed, no societal checklist. He was drawn to her responsiveness, her lack of self-consciousness compared to maybe women his own age.
But bubbles pop, right? The secret world couldn't last forever.
No. And the first real test comes not from strangers, but from inside Liam's world. His sister, Kate.
Right, Kate. She's 26, works in marketing, visits him.
And she's sharp. She picks up on the dynamic almost immediately.
And when she confronts Liam about it, he falters.
He does. He hesitates. Calls their relationship just complicated.
Oof, that word.
Catastrophic for Elena. It instantly validates every single insecurity she had.
All the self-doubt comes rushing back.
Yep. She feels exposed, terrified. The text mentions her fearing she's an embarrassing mistake, or worse, a desperate cougar. All those societal labels she'd managed to ignore inside their bubble.
And her reaction is pretty extreme. She doesn't just get upset, she retreats completely.
It's an emotional crisis.
Yeah.
Back into that dark place, the source says, like the grief after Daniel died. Calls in sick, ignores Liam's calls for 3 days.
Why such a deep regression from just one word? Complicated. Why did that hit so hard?
Well, think about Elena's life since Daniel died. It seems like risk assessment became her default mode. She only allowed herself the risk of this connection with Liam within the safety of their secret sanctuary. Liam's hesitation, his use of complicated, it signals that he still values external opinion, especially family opinion, maybe more than her intrinsic worth to him.
So it felt like a betrayal of the sanctuary.
Exactly. For someone already convinced her big adventures are over, being labeled complicated is like the ultimate dismissal. It confirms her fear that she is something to be explained away or hidden.
Which brings us to the turning point. The moment Liam has to step up.
The moment of commitment, where he has to provide that psychological repair and basically reject the external script entirely.
He shows up at her door, looks terrible, unshaven, distressed.
Yeah. And his speech then, that's basically the thesis statement for their whole relationship, isn't it?
It really is. He just brushes aside all the external noise, family worries, age gap judgment, fears of a midlife breakdown.
And says point blank, I don't give a damn about any of that.
That's the clarity she needed.
It's the shift from him reacting defensively to him stating his intention clearly. He doesn't just apologize. He reframes why the relationship matters.
And he gives that profound reason. She makes him feel like the best version of myself.
That right there is the key insight, I think. That's the psychological nugget you want to pull out. He's not seeking external validation, status, youth, what his friends think.
He's seeking identity affirmation.
Exactly. She doesn't complete him in some cliche way. She enables him to be himself fully.
And crucially, it's not just words. He backs it up immediately with action, tangible action.
Yes. He sets that boundary straight away. Tells his sister Kate, basically, if you can't respect Elena, you're not welcome.
That's strong.
And he promises Elena, I'll fight for us every single day.
Was that too drastic, or was that absolutely what needed to happen to prove this wasn't just a phase for him, to prove he was really rejecting that prescribed life?
I think it was necessary. Absolutely necessary. Liam learned the hard way that their sanctuary needed external walls to survive. Kate's judgment wasn't just Kate. It was the voice of that societal timeline he was supposed to follow.
So by rejecting her judgment.
He wasn't just choosing Elena over his sister's comfort. He was choosing that best version of himself he talked about. That action cemented their partnership, made it intentional, forced the world, and maybe even himself a little, to see it as real.
Okay, so they've made the commitment. The narrative then shows them getting a couple of key moments of acceptance or maybe affirmation.
Yeah, like little signs that they make the right call. The source points out two specific ones.
First, there's Mrs. Chen, right? An elderly woman at the lake.
Simple wisdom. She just says, life's too short to worry about what other people think.
That's like validation from the perspective of age itself. Permission from someone who's lived the long life Elena feared she was missing out on.
Exactly. But the trickier validation, the bigger test, comes from Elena's own daughter, Sarah,
Who was 28, same age as Liam.
a lawyer. Right. She represents the peer group most likely to judge, or at least question, the age gap.
And Sarah challenges them. How does Liam handle that?
He handles it directly, like an adult partner. He speaks straight to Sarah's unspoken concerns. Tells her, I love your mother. I'll never stop trying to be worthy of her love.
That's pretty direct.
It is. And Sarah's response is quiet, but it's enough. Okay, I can work with that. They didn't win by arguing. They won by showing unwavering sincerity and commitment.
So once they navigate that, once they're properly public, what happens?
The growth that was happening inside the bubble just explodes outward. The sources talk about this renewed sense of freedom for both of them.
And Liam's career path changes dramatically. That feels symbolic.
It really does. He totally moves away from the temporary instructor gigs he seemed lukewarm about.
Finds his actual calling.
Yeah, in hands-on environmental education. Starts a program at a local school. He loves teaching kids. It proves he wasn't afraid of commitment itself.
Just commitment to the wrong life. The one prescribed for him.
Precisely. And that age difference, the thing everyone else saw is the big problem.
Becomes a strength.
It becomes a resource. They're different tastes. Her poetry, his podcasts, and Instagram, they become sources of discovery, not distance.
So they're learning from each other's worlds.
Constantly. Broadening each other's horizons instead of letting the differences divide them.
And the final proof of Elena's renewal, the last detail the source gives us, is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, that's great. Elena, now 56, is trying rock climbing.
Rock climbing. Pushed by Liam's enthusiasm.
It's perfect. She's not just tending her garden or accepting predictability anymore.
No more fading into the background.
Not at all. She's actively choosing new physical challenges. It shows she's finally shed that old belief about her adventure being over.
That willingness to try something completely new, something physically demanding, that's the ultimate sign, isn't it? The fear's gone, replaced by just pursuing authentic joy.
Her adventure wasn't over at 45. It was just paused by a belief she never really examined until Liam challenged it.
So, pulling it all together, what does this deep dive really mean for you, the listener? What's the core takeaway?
I think the main insight is this. The biggest block to living a fulfilling life often isn't the external judgment, the societal rules.
It's the internal timeline we adopt.
Exactly. Elena believing her adventure quota was used up by 45, Liam panicking about hitting 30 without ticking the standard boxes. Those internal deadlines are powerful.
And the source material shows us two kinds of validation, right?
Yeah, clearly. There's the external kind, the societal approval, which both Elena and Liam found suffocating in their own ways.
And then there's the internal, authentic validation, the kind they found in each other, built on making each other feel like the best version of themselves.
Right. And true commitment, whatever the age gap or the situation, means actively fighting for the relationship when it gets tested, not just waiting for the world to give you permission.
Which leaves us with a final thought, a question maybe for you to consider.
Yeah.
When did you decide your life's greatest adventures were supposed to end? Or plateau? And think about this. What perfect stroke technique, what quiet skill or competence or passion are you maybe hiding or downplaying because you're operating on someone else's timeline? Or maybe just an old one you inherited?
Yeah, it's worth thinking about the paths we dismiss, the things we don't try, just because we're afraid of what people might think.
Right.
And what might happen, what transformation could be possible if you decided to step out into that mist anyway, regardless of who's watching.